This is Moni Singh, your creator of STEM for Kids, and I wanted to quickly touch bases with you. Today we released the Today in STEM History that talks about the engineering marvel Panama Canal, and I wanted to share some quick tips with you on how you can apply that into your classroom. So I'm going to give you some quick tips and we'll dive right into it. Okay, so first of all, what is the Panama Canal? And pardon my pardon my sketching over here, but I wanted to give you a quick feel for it. Okay, so we have so imagine this is the mainland North America, the USA and Mexico, and you know how there's this land body that's almost like a bridge from the North American continent to the South American continent. Again, pardon my sketching here. Let's see if I can see the whole. Okay, there we go. So that's South America, and you have the land mass, right? It's a land bridge that connects the two continents. This land mass, by the way, if you are dealing with social sciences or geography, this is called isthmus, right? So this landform is called an isthmus, which is basically almost like a land bridge, connects two bigger land masses, and you have water all around it, right? So this is the isthmus of Panama. You see the countries of Costa Rica and also Panama in here. This is the Pacific Ocean. So right here is the Pacific Ocean. So I just wanted to make sure we get the geography right here before I continue on. And that's the Atlantic Ocean, okay? Oops, hard to write this way. Okay, that's the Atlantic Ocean. So Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean. Now, what does the Panama Canal do? And this was actually built out in 1909, okay? So it's a pretty, it's in use for a long time now. It's basically what it did, it creates a shortcut, right? So the ships, imagine ships which are going, coming from China. So China is all over here, right? Or other parts of Asia. Ships are coming, carrying loads. So in the past, they would have to go from here, go all the way to the southern tip of South America, and then from there go back up and, that way to reach to this side of the world. Now, what Panama Canal did is actually created a shortcut. So now they could just pass through here, straight from the Pacific Ocean to Atlantic and vice versa, from Atlantic to Pacific as well. So they created the shortcut right here, okay? So that's the canal. It was built in 1909, and you can see that in Today in STEM History about some of those facts. I'm not going to go into the details there today. But now the question is, how do you incorporate that? I know that many of you teachers are actually using these Today in STEM History, the minute-long videos that I do every day, using them as like a connecting reality, bringing the real world of STEM to your students, and you can keep doing that, right? Kind of sharing as a news or an event that has happened, which is great. But here with this, I wanted to share with you some other things you can do, like activities surrounding this, right? Or building it into the learning part itself. So as I mentioned, this is the canal, right? So what we're going to do is look at the finer details of how the canal works, okay? So let me erase that. So again, remember, this is the Pacific Ocean, that's the Atlantic Ocean, okay? So what we're going to do is, let me change the camera angle a little bit, and I'm going to put this down here. Yeah, okay, much better, I think. Okay, so the way this works is the canal is actually a system of locks and also lakes, okay? So let me talk about what that means. Imagine this, okay? And again, I'm kind of think of this as, I'm doing a blowout view of this canal, which is right here, okay? So that way we can have a perspective on what's going on here, okay? So blowout view of the canal, changing markers here. Okay, so it looks something like this from the Pacific side. So imagine that there is, the ship enters from the Pacific side, right? It will first go into a lock, and a lock is like a chamber, which is you can fill it up with water to raise the level, or you can take water away to lower the ship, okay? So it's like almost like an elevator, if you can think about it. Of course, a huge elevator, but that's what a lock is, okay? So the ships enter, and there's the first lock, which is called let's see, I have to remember the name. Flores, what was that? Miraflores locks. So there are two sets of locks as the ships enter from the Pacific. Miraflores lock and then the Pedro Miguel locks. The two locks combined raised the ship from the sea level, from the Pacific Ocean side, about 85 feet, okay? So that they'll raise the ship up 85 feet so that it can then reach to the Gatun Lake, okay? So let me show that. So the ships enter here, and this is the level here is, let's say, I'm going to draw platforms like when you have the platforms in the olden days where kids would stand on the first, second, third kind of a platform. So I'm going to draw a platform just to make it simple. So that's the platform, and even though there are two locks, we are going to make it a simplistic, and let's say just one lock, okay, just to keep it simple. So that's one lock. Then we have the Gatun Lake, which actually is raised. It's actually at quite an elevation, okay? So that's the Gatun Lake over here. And then we have we have another set of locks here, which will then drop the ship down back to the Atlantic Ocean's level. So that's Atlantic Ocean. So that's what happens at Panama Canal, okay? So two sets of lock here, which are the, I forgot the name again, Miraflores locks and the Pedro Miguel lock right on this side. They together raise the ship 85 feet, okay, 85 feet above, so that it can get to the level of the Gatun Lake, which is right here. Then the ship can easily maneuver, can just kind of do its thing on the Gatun Lake, move to this side. They get to this other lock, that's called the Gatun lock, and that lock will then, there are three separate chambers. It uses its things to actually lower the ship back to the level of the Atlantic Ocean, and the ship then comes over here and passes here, okay? So if I can do a simple demonstration, here is our ship, okay? It enters from the Pacific Ocean, gets to the locks here on the Pacific Ocean side, gets there. This chamber is filled up with water, okay? Filled up with water, so the chamber rises. There we go. It's at the Gatun Lake level. It has risen about 85 feet, reaches the Gatun Lake. Now it can just freely float, does its thing, and now it gets to the next lock, the Gatun locks, and here the water will be taken out so that the ship can just lower now. It's lowering 85 feet, and again, just doing it via three chambers, okay, in three steps, if you can think of it that way. But it's lowered 85 feet, it comes to that level, and now it can freely float to the Atlantic Ocean, okay? That's the canal. That's what the Panama Canal is doing. Now, how can you bring it to your classroom, okay? So there are a couple of things you can do, especially in your STEM STEAM labs that you have. Of course, this is a Lego boat. You can just use a Lego piece or a simple Lego boat like this, so you can have kids make something like that, anything like that. Basically, they could design their own ship, by the way, so you can do that. Now, I'm going to talk about depending on the age range of your students, right? So this mechanism right here, how the ship rises in a lock, like it's here and it has to rise up to this level. You can do STEM activities around this, okay? Now, what do you do here? If you're dealing with really little children, pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, you could possibly just, show them how by filling water. So you could have a chamber and you fill water in it, and because of the buoyancy, the ship is buoyant, right? It floats in water. As you put more water, the ship is going to gradually rise up, okay? So you're showing the principle that the ship is rising, but again, in a very simple way. You're just pouring water in there, or you can create a mechanism to take water out, and the ship level will fall down. So you show the mechanism of the locks, how they work, going up or down. That's the simplistic thing you can do. You have to be careful about the weight of the ship itself, because depending on how much water you have, whether the ship will be able to float or not. So you may want to check on that piece. But other than that, whether to have a very big ship or something tinier, depending on how big of a water chamber or container that you have, okay? So that's the simplistic thing you can do with little kids. If you're dealing with the, I would say the early elementary, even up to the upper elementary level, you can bring in the concept of simple machines to create contraptions to show the rising and the rising and the lowering of these chambers, okay? So simple machines like pulleys will be a great one to apply here. You could also apply levers, great ones to showcase. If you already have the STEM for Kids courses, which by the way, we are running scholarships that cover 98% of the cost. So if you have not availed of those scholarships, it's a great time to go ahead and get that scholarship, get into the programs. You can see all the courses. In our mechanical motion, commotion, and other courses, you can see how you can bring in simple machines, apply that into your classrooms. Okay, you can see some more detailed examples on how you can do that. But that simple machine would be a great one to bring in right here to show this concept of raising the chamber up or down. Okay. If you're dealing with upper elementary or even going into the lower middle school levels, you can also bring in the concept of hydraulics. Which we showcase, we talk about in our biomedical engineering program, which is also part of that scholarship. In the biomedical engineering, we use hydraulics to make prosthetic limbs, but you can use similar contraption, right? There's a lever which is actually moved by the power of water. You can use that and create this kind of a chamber that you can then raise or lower using hydraulics, and that's going to be such a super cool thing. So now actually in implementing this in your classroom, you can do it as one simple activity and just doing this part of just this part, right? That is making a platform that's able to be raised or lowered. Or you can do it as a bigger project, maybe a multi-day project where kids can make this side, they can make this other side, and actually make like a full working model of a Panama Canal where they're able to raise it up, get to the level, the lake level, and then bring it back down to get into the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, so there you have it. So again, a great way to bring in your concepts of simple machines. Like simple machines would really be like your forces and motion study. Hydraulics also gets into forces and motion, so you can kind of bring that into there, again, depending on the ages of the children. So I hope, and of course you have the civil awareness, right? The social sciences, talking to kids about the geographic position of where the Panama Canal is and why it's important, right? What is it really doing? And what I did not mention is that just the fact that the ships can get this shortcut takes about 8 to 10 hours only. Whereas imagine going all the way down here to the southern tip of South America, that used to take weeks. Okay, so of course, because of this engineering marvel, there is so much saving in terms of time and cost and everything else, and it just kind of creates such a boosting effect to the global trade. We were able to transit goods, a lot of goods, from one part of the world to the other. And you can also talk a little bit about economy, global economy, to the trades, to the students, the trade and economy, right? Because at the end of the day, doesn't matter where you are, what part of the world you live in, but we don't get all the resources at that same place. A lot of goods that we consume, whether it's clothes, whether it's the food that we eat, whether it's the phones, the devices that we use, whether it's these markers or whatever. So anything that we use, many of these items actually come from different parts of the world. So they all have to then, more than likely, if they're actually crossing continents, they might be going through an ocean route, trying to reach the point to where you're able to buy it and consume it. So that's why the shipping transit is so important. There's a lot of movement of goods that happen, and because of this canal, now you have something, the trade routes which are a little bit more easier, efficient, and enable more of that goods to be moved around. So a lot of different topics that you can cover as you bring the real world to children, and also make it hands-on for them so they can really engage with what's happening in the world, what different engineering creations, scientific creations exist out there. So have fun with it, and please do give me comments about how you're applying this particular subject onto your classrooms. And if you have any other questions about all the details that I've covered, whether you have questions about how to implement or how to do things, just feel free to ask questions. This is a forum where we'll be responding to any and all of those questions and trying to give you the resources so you can make it fun with children wherever you are, and all your students. Okay, so have fun with it, and I had a great time showing that to you, and we'll talk later soon. Take care. Bye, everyone.